This episode is brought to you by Triggered 22 LLC, a veteran-owned apparel company. By purchasing a t-shirt, hat, or hoodie from Triggered 22, you're not only supporting a small business, but you're bringing awareness to veteran PTSD and suicide. Please help save the lives of those who fought for our freedoms. Visit triggered22.com now and place your order. Let's help those suffering from invisible wounds. We print a local paper, and I happen to have some coin in my pocket, so I give him some coin. I slide it under the table, though, so that the other workers don't see it. And I say, hey, can you, get this through?
Sure. And the worker that's behind the counter turns around. He's a 7.5 foot tall half orc. He looks down at you and he says, "So it's a bribe then."
Welcome to the American Grown Podcast, hosted by Austin Sullivan. The American Grown Podcast will focus on people from different walks of life and their journey to where they are now. Now, turn up your volume and settle in for a great episode.
Hi, I'm Austin Sullivan. This is the American Grown Podcast, recorded inside the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Today, we have Olivia and Nate Holmes, joined by their friend Adam Stec. They are avid Dungeons and Dragons players. Guys, welcome to episode 53 of the American Grown Podcast.
Hi.
Wow.
Hello.
It's super awesome to be here, man. Thanks for having us. We finally did it. The nerds broke through on a legitimate program.
Let's go.
And we're here to stay. We're going to try to recruit some new people. Nerd is in. The nerdy thing is popular now, which is a really weird thing to say, but we're
No satanic panic anymore.
No satanic panic. We're gonna talk about that. And I'm not gonna lie, guys. You didn't compliment the Star Wars polo.
I was looking at it when we walked
Did you?
in.
Oh,
I
okay.
did
I
look.
didn't even notice.
Yeah, Death Star.
It's
and everything.
awesome.
Thank you. My wife got it for me, so
It's very nice.
I had to rock it today. Normally, I just wear like a standard solid color polo, but you guys got the special.
We gotta go nerd, full nerd.
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars is not nerdy. Nobody is a nerd who likes Star Wars.
Star Wars, Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
it.
Oh,
I
phenomenal.
think it is nerdy, Liv. I think it is nerdy, but it's okay for it to
Yeah.
be nerdy.
There's a lot of people who like Star Wars.
Nerds are cool.
Oh yeah, exactly. Nerds are they're like the popular kids. I think it's coming back for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forget the jocks. Nerds all the way. So, to get some background, Olivia's actually a client here at Colortech, and we gave her a tour of the shop, and we did lunch at Boyer's Tavern. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Bobby at Boyer's Tavern. And for most of the lunch, it was my own fault. I had asked because I was curious. You talked about D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, and that's kind of what sparked all this.
Yep.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a solid 45 minutes straight. His dad, Rick, was there, as well as my coworker, Deja, and they were just along for the ride while we just sat and talked. But it seemed like everybody was kind of interested, so I think it was a good conversation.
Oh, for sure. It wasn't boring at all. It was almost like we were in the movies, the way you were describing the stories and the role-playing and everything about it. So let's start, before we dive into, D&D, let's get some background. Adam, let's start with you.
Sure, yeah. So D&D, my dad has been playing D&D since the game came out, right?
Wow.
He actually still plays with the same group of people that he met through school and all throughout college. So they've played just about every version of the game since it kind of started. They started with pieces of paper. They started playing different games. There's even some earlier games like where the game D&D was derived from, like Chainmail, which if you want to get real nerdy, going back. This is like the origins of this role-playing game, and it is a TTRPG, meaning tabletop role-playing game.
Thank you, because I had no clue what that meant.
That's what that means, right? Tabletop role-playing game. But a lot of these games actually started as war games, where essentially you would have some sort of large table, usually in a basement or a garage. So that much hasn't changed. A lot of people playing D&D in their basement still. And you would basically have this giant sand table, make some sort of battle map, like terrain, and then you'd move little pieces around. It would be a war game when you went back and forth. So it kind of started as that kind of game. And then eventually there was a module that was interjected into the game where you could play as fantasy people. So rather than being like the Mongolian army or whatever, or like Civil War guys going back and forth, you could now be like wizards and stuff. And then it kind of became popular. People like that high fantasy setting a lot better. And then the game of D&D was invented. It's an American invention, which is pretty cool. anytime that we can put our stamp on something, it's kind of neat. It's being like, yeah, it started here, you know? So basically, long story short, he's been playing forever. So it was always around as a kid. I played briefly in one of their games when I was, say, like 6th, 7th grade-ish, and then dropped it until I divulged back into the nerdy culture with my friends. And I was like, guys, I don't know how to play this game anymore because it changed so much, but I think we would all have a lot of fun doing it. And essentially, that's kind of how I got started, and then roped these guys into it. We all learned the game at the exact same time, which I don't recommend, including the person running the game, to all be learning at the same time. But I basically roped all my friends into it, and then, long story short, we've been playing for, 5-6 years now.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out when we started, and I feel like it had to have been right after I was out of college, probably like 2017, maybe?
Yeah, probably around there,
2016, something like that.
Wow. And I got to get this on record here, but Nate, you have an awesome podcast voice. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Thank you, Adam. That's what I'm talking about. You really do. It's really good.
Guess I got to start a podcast.
Really low voice.
So, Adam, you would say, your father kind of got you into Dungeons & Dragons and that kind of like role-playing board game aspect?
For sure. And it's really interesting because the game D&D has changed over the years. Like I said, it used to be just moving little pieces around a map that kind of was at the start of the game, and it was very tactical and stats driven and numbers driven. But the modern version of D&D now, the part that I enjoy the most about it is actually the role-playing aspect of it and the improvisation, which was kind of added to the game later as the game was developed. So there is still a tactical part when you would go and, like in the game, for example, there's basically 2 different modes that you end up switching between. The one is the role-playing aspect, meaning between the dungeon master who runs the game and the players, you're creating this scenario. It is group storytelling, so the players can add stuff, and the dungeon master kind of acts as the scenario around it and the world that their characters are living in, right? So that's kind of the one aspect of it. And then the other aspect of it is, okay, now a fight started. Now we're moving pieces on a physical map in front of us. You can move a certain number of spaces. You roll dice to determine your probability of success. So there's basically 2 parts of this game, and where my dad came from, it was all tactical. They didn't care even what their characters were named. Like, sometimes they'd play years, and they just, I know, for example, my dad played, a character for years that either had the starting letter of L or the name started with EL. So they were just called him L or something like that for years because that didn't matter. Yeah. Those details did not matter to them. They were like, let's just get into stats and leveling up, killing monsters, getting loot, and boosting the number part of the game and the tactical part of the game. What we love, and sometimes we'll have an entire session without even busting a map out, we love just the immersion of being in a fantasy type setting and playing as different characters and interacting with the world within it, and it's the storytelling side of it.
I was just going to say, so it's much more storytelling, where before it was more of a classical board game like Risk or Stratego. Now it's more of the fantasy and the storyline, the plot behind it. And I'm guessing, Adam, since you brought the books, you are the Dungeon Master.
I am the Dungeon Master, or DM. So
or
if
GM.
You want to really... Or
Sometimes
GM, Game Master, if it's not Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah.
If you're playing another TTRPG, which is a...
tabletop roleplay game.
There you go. I knew it. We're learning. By the end of this, we're going to be playing a game.
Yes, we are.
But the best part about it is you can switch up the setting and different things like that. Once you have kind of this formula, you can use the game mechanics and play in any setting. For example, I have another game right now that I'm running. It's just like a 4-session mini campaign that is in the Harry Potter universe. You know what I mean? Like, you can use this and kind of immerse yourself. You can play in the world of Lord of the Rings, or what we've been doing for years. We've been playing one game since we started, which we're about to finish up. And I think we're going to be almost about 90 sessions in, which you figure, we got together 90 times for 4 to 5 hours as a group of relatively consistent people, and we put that much time into one world, and that's a completely homebrew world, which me and I actually have a co-DM for this game because it's huge.
Shout out to Matt Anderson.
Yeah, shout out to Matt Anderson. He's very much the one that makes everything make sense behind the scenes and does a lot of the the writing and the tactical part of things. And then I always joke that I'm his puppet, and I'm up there doing stupid voices and talking and kind of just bringing the story to life. But my point was, you've got this consistent game that we've been playing for years, but our setting is completely homebrew, meaning we started with a blank sheet of paper, and we came up with the world, the name of the continents, all of the people, the towns, the cities, how it all interacts together. And it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. But the basics of this game, not to go off on too much of a tangent, back to your point, the basics of this game can be applied to any type of setting, and that's why people are really loving it, because they can customize it to how they want to play the game.
Very cool. So it's kind of like a multiverse thing, you know, if you think about it. You're living in the real world, but then for D&D, you're playing in whatever world you create, you know, you guys create. Olivia, let's get your background. How did you get into D&D, and what's your kind of story on it?
So, as Adam said, we all started together. So I had never played D&D prior to what I estimate is 2016, 2017, right out of college. Adam one day was like, hey, we're thinking about playing Dungeons and Dragons. We all like similar things. We like doing similar things. So who's interested in? And Nathan and I were like, I guess we'll join in. Sure, we'll figure out what this is.
I remember Matt and Adam were like, we should play this. And I was like, okay, but Liv has to play because that's a lot of time commitment. I don't want to like not hang out with you every weekend, because for a while we were playing every weekend.
Yeah, so... And yeah, that was pretty much the start. So I've obviously been in this campaign that Adam and Matt run since then. I'm also in another campaign that our friend Baxter runs. I play a totally different character in that. So it's been a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. And I feel like it's opened so many new avenues to express myself, because I've always been... When I was younger, I was always the athlete, and that's all I did. And then I went to school, and all I did was videos and graphics and all that stuff. And it was never really... I only really started watching Star Wars once I started dating him and watching Marvel and stuff like that. So I had heard of it, and I'd been interested in some of it, but I wasn't as interested as I was until I met him. So then at that point, my world kind of expanded, and then thus part of the reason that I decided to do this, because... I mean, I'm so happy I did, because it's so much fun, and I like being able to kind of go and sit for a couple hours and just, you know, there's fun parts of me that I don't get to experience all the time because it's just not who I am. And I get to go and be this, you know, very chaotic, neutral person and say, hey, one time I want to, you know, I'm going to throw an Eldritch Blast at this guy because he's making me annoyed, or I can decide to help that child. And I'm very... flip-flop, and it's fun to kind of play somebody who you're not. Yeah. And that's pretty much what all my characters are for the most part. They're people I'm totally not, which is definitely fun. So it's been a very eye-opening experience and a very exciting experience, to say the least.
So for you, it's really it seems like for Adam, it's the story or being the dungeon master. For you, it's the role-playing aspect of it is what like, you really like.
I'm not super good at it. You know, once this campaign concludes, which is very soon, so it's exciting because I'm excited to move on to the next thing, but it's also sad because we've been doing this so long. But I'm very excited to jump into my future character, because I've already gone into it saying, hey, I'm 100% going to roleplay this the best I can, because I've gotten this experience and I know I can go into it, I can come out of it. But this one, I'm very excited to almost wholeheartedly try to role play as much as I can with her. Yeah, it's really fun, and I do like the story. I will admit, and they know it, some of our city names are stupid.
Oh, okay. Well, now you have to give me an example.
Okay. So one of the first cities we ever named,
Home base.
Home base.
Wait a minute.
Home base.
Can I pause for just a second and just say that I thought when starting this game that rather than the DMs coming up with all the names for everything, it would be a fun thing to open that up to the players, because we knew we were going to be playing in this world a lot. So let's allow them to say, you know, we decide what happens in the town, what the town might be like. But let's just say, hey, you arrived at this new town, and I'm just going to open it up. Does someone else name this town so you can kind of contribute to the story?
So you want to know what it was?
The epic fantasy town name that we came up with for the first town in our campaign, Brownstown.
Like Brownstown, like past Ephrata, Brownstown.
Okay, I know where you're at. Yeah.
Which literally just is a place that exists in our world.
Literally near where we live. So.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Very creative, guys.
And then the river the Brown River.
Well, that could get interesting, but yeah.
But the leader of the town.
Yeah, that's Paul Brown,
All brown.
but it's spelled P''ALL.
Because you have to make it high fantasy. Whatever you do.
But actually, the reason that I decided on Paul Brown was because your dad, Paul, and I was like, well, we're playing D&D, and he's D&D, so.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's kind of cool. That's like
Yeah.
paying tribute a little bit. You know, that's neat. That's neat for sure.
Yeah.
I will admit, I was honored that my 2 suggestions for the name of the world and the continent were chosen, though. It wasn't like Ephrata.
Yeah. It was.
It's Thessia and Anale. So like
Whoa,
they were
those are
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
I know.
Almost
Like
sounded
I'm like,
Elven-
can Olivia
Elvish?
just like
Yeah.
name all of these places from now on?
Let's
if
just
we
have
get to
Olivia
pick?
name them, guys. Provincetown. Oh my gosh. So Nate, let's get your take. You know, how'd you get into D&D? You know, what's your story on it?
Well, same as what Adam and Liv said. He roped us into that, but the reason that I was willing to give it a try was because it was coming from like there is a game aspect to it. I play a lot of video games, so like the main selling point I remember was Adam was like, it's like Skyrim but board game, and you can do anything instead of restricted to like the game mechanics. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So since you talk about video games, what games do you play? Because I was waiting for somebody over here.
Spider-Man 2.
There's a lot. Yeah,
that
Spider-Man
looks
2
really
just came
good.
out, so I played it a little bit.
Okay.
It's really good so far. But all the Elder Scrolls type of games, Fallout. I know I got Liv into Fallout, and she loves that. My main game for the past bunch of years has been Destiny 2, which is
My buddy plays that.
it's fun.
Yeah. Any like the Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty, Battlefield, anything like that?
I've played some Call of Duties. I haven't played Battlefield or really any of the Assassin's Creed.
Whoa, no Assassin's Creed?
No, I have played
even Valhalla?
the Shadow of War Middle Earth ones.
I
I know
played
those
that.
are similar to
Yeah.
like Assassin's Creed
Those
style,
are good.
but
I like them. Yeah, we're gonna get really nerdy on this whole episode. So if, for all the listeners, like, just buckle up. All right, just buckle up. So let's dive into like, how did you first all meet? What was the first iteration, or when you first met? Where was it? Did you get pizza? Were you drinking beers? Like, walk us through it.
Here's the scenario. I said, let's all play this game. Everyone agreed. And then I said, all right, but before we get together, there's a whole bunch of homework and reading and stats because you have to roll up a character. So I think there is a large barrier to entry that since I've introduced a lot of people to the game and I've done it way better. Every single time gets better and better. But this initial wave of everyone getting together, I was like, okay, I know we need like a piece of paper, and that's called a character sheet. I don't know how we decide what the numbers on it are, but that determines how good you are at things. So the basics of the game is you roll dice to determine if something happens, and then if you have any skills in something, you might add something to whatever you rolled, or you might subtract something if you're bad at it. That's the basics of the game. A D20 or 20-sided die is what you use for 90% of the game. There's all sorts of different dice. We can go over that then, but like, basically, you're rolling a 20-sided die, and then depending on if your character is good at that or not, you add or subtract something, and then as the DM, I tell you the outcome. That's how the game works, right? But because you need that sheet in front of you to determine how good you are at things, before you play your first session, you need to roll up a character. So that's when you make decisions based on what
race
you are, what class you are, what you're good at, what you're not at, and that's partially determined by dice. That's partially determined by what type of person you want to play.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things where I know all of us, anytime we play even a video game, we spend like a ridiculous amount of time in character creation, and like you get a brand
Baldur's
new game.
Gate.
Yeah.
Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate. That's
Yeah.
D&D, but a video game.
Oh, okay.
It's amazing.
exactly.
I recommend it.
But like there's definitely the character creation screen on video games. There's a big barrier to entry to roll up a character in D&D. But once you have that, then as you progress in the story, you're just like adding to your numbers and getting better at the things you want to get better at. So first session, I meet everyone separately at their houses and say, try to figure out how to roll up these characters before we even meet, because I didn't want that to be the whole first session. We're playing in my basement, which is very classic. I'm glad we started playing in a basement. Playing in my basement, borrowing little mini figurines that my dad had stashed away from years and
That's
years.
awesome.
I think also mixed in with some Legos I brought.
Yes.
Yeah, like you literally need nothing but your imagination to technically play the game. But luckily we had some stuff to pull from as far as to represent things. And I moved some couches, and like we're all like kind of sitting around a central table where I had some map tile pieces. I overbought on a whole bunch of things because I thought I needed a lot, and now we realize we could literally sit here and play D&D just in our minds. It's a different kind of thing now that we understand the game. But basically, I got a whole bunch of people together, and then the first session was I don't want to say a disaster, but everything took so long. It was very like, okay, guys, let's start. So like, this is where you are, and you guys can name a town, and immediately joke name of Brownstown came up. And like we just laughed for 20 minutes, and then I was like, okay, you're here, and you have to make a decision. And they're just like, who talks? Like, who decides these things? It's just like, I don't know, one of you. And like, then it was just like, well, how do we know each other? And it was like, well, didn't think of any of this. So
you need some backstory for your character.
So there's like some backstory for your characters, how you meet, that sort of thing. So it's very much like picture a modern like origin story. Everyone, before they get to that first session, comes up with their origin story of how they got there, and then you justify why you're together. Usually there's a combat or a quest that brings people together, and then after that, everyone's like, hey, we should continue to work together, right? And the DM's just like back there, like crossing his fingers, like, everyone just agree, don't play the stubborn character. We need to actually get on with the game.
A lot of D&D campaigns start in a tavern.
I mean, you said these go for like maybe 2, 3, 4 hours. Is there food and drink? So you're all around a table, kind of like how we are here.
Cheese and crackers.
Cheese and crackers.
Is
Ritz?
the food?
Ritz crackers?
No, what are the ones you
club
have?
crackers.
Yeah,
It's very
so
important.
good.
Okay.
You get club crackers, and you get cheese, and you slice it up. You need to have that. I think I'm going to make a bold claim, and I hope everyone's just gonna be okay with it. I'm going to make a very bold
I'm going to flip the table.
Yeah,
Please don't. Please don't.
Here's my bold claim. I think the resurgence of charcuterie boards is directly tied to the amount of people playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Whoa, that is a big claim.
Because that is the ultimate type of snack. You're sitting around a table for like say 4 or 5 hours, like, and I'm just gonna ramp it up every time. You said 3, 4. I'm going 4, 5.
It'll be
7, 8.
It'll be 7, 8.
Yeah.
So you sit around the table for 3 days, right? No, but it's one of those things where your mind is working in such a way. It's almost like if you're get in the zone at work and you just need to keep going. Your mind is in such a different place that you will just absentmindedly snack and drink, and it's like, no, I don't need a big meal. I don't want a plate I don't want anything messy because I'm going to be picking up dice and rolling. I need grabbable small food. And just drinks, keep them coming. The most sugary, the better, because we're adults, staying up really late. So we need drinks that keep you going, and then grabbable small bits of food.
Yeah, pizza's almost like too heavy to eat while we're playing in terms of just like.
And then where do you put the plate? You got all this grease. Yeah, it's interesting.
It makes sense. You want finger foods. You want something you can eat real quick, and of course sugary drinks, right, to keep you up and keep you going. Gosh, there's so much to unpack there. All right, so let's talk about, and then we'll go to some other questions. But when you, roll a character, or you build your character, right? How many different characters are there? Like, is it like a fighter and like a wizard? Like, just give me a broad.
Those are 2 of them.
There's 12 classes, I think. 12
Yeah,
base classes.
And they're ever expanding because whenever anything gets popular, there's more books that come out and supplements. But here's the basics of it. Picture you want to create a character in a high fantasy world. You can play out this game, like I mentioned, in any type of setting, but picture high fantasy world. So you have guy who swings a sword really well. You have guy who's really strong that can bust through doors. You've got nerdy guy that reads from books and casts spells. You've got guy who has some connection to a patron, whether it's a like deity or like evil thing from its past or monster that it gets its power from. You've got, and I say guy or gal, that is super agile and can move around and can smack things and get out of the way really fast. And then you've got guy who gets his power from a deity like God. Guy who basically calls on his extra power from God. And like those are, and then you got a healer, which no one wants to play. But then you got a healer.
And you've also got guy who plays music and makes magic from it.
That's true. You've also got the troll character, which is a bard. So like those are the basic types of characters you play. Obviously, you can get into details. You get different benefits from being different species, essentially. They call it races, but it's really different species.
I think they're changing the terminology, actually, with newer updates.
I would, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
But basically, so you get starting stats based on the lineage of your species, and then also what type of thing that you studied in. And that's, again, just to inspire your background. You get numbers, stats on your character sheet that help you do certain things better, but it's really all, in my mind, just a tool to help you build what approach you be coming from. If you're like a holy man that gets his or her power from, God, a deity, and has kind of like the backing support of that, then you're naturally going to want to play a character that's lawful good. You're going to want to follow the rules, and you're going to want to do good for the community, that kind of thing. So these choices all inspire other things until you zone in on what type of character you are. I definitely recommend if people are starting out, it's really easy. Don't tell anyone who you picked, but either pick one or two like movie characters and be like, okay, I'm going to play Indiana Jones. Okay, so what's Indiana Jones good at? And then you go through and you say, well, if he was this type of character I want to play, if he was good at being agile, good at being this, he might have these kind of stats. He might get this. And then you look at all your options, and then you kind of craft and build that character. And this is all before the first session. So then you get in the room, a scenario presents itself. Now you've got ammo in your brain, and you're no longer playing as Nate or Olivia or Adam. You're playing as Indiana Jones.
Disguised Indiana Jones.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how you approach it. And it's so much fun because you get a table full of people all playing different characters that all have different motivations, and a decision comes up, and you're acting as one unit now, and that vastly changes the story.
Wow. All right. Just so much. So let's get Nate. Let's get your character, and then we'll go around.
Okay, I did bring my mini of the character I'm
sweet.
playing
Got a
right now.
minifig. This guy right
So
here?
yep.
Okay.
So his name is Sir Lancelotti, who actually is
That is awesome.
named after my pediatrician.
So random.
Here's the
Okay.
thing.
Because
if you grew up in the area we lived in, there was a 97% chance that you had Dr. Lancelotti as your pediatrician. He was
so
at
he's
the Everett
well known.
Community Hospital.
And
so many people have
it's
had
like
him.
a multi-layered joke within the name. So there's Knights of the Round Table, Sir Lancelot.
Yes.
So then Sir Lancelotti, but also he's a paladin, so he has some healing abilities on top of being like good with weapons. So it's a little bit of a loose connection there.
It ties in. Yeah.
And session one, we all laughed at his name because it was such a meme
Not
type
me.
joke.
I thought it was
But
good.
now,
It just sounds normal.
it is so like we've had intense scenes that we've played out where it's like we literally had a scene where like Liv was in tears involving this character because we cared about him so much. It gets intense.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
I had to walk away from my computer.
It can get intense.
That
but
was
this
during
is about
COVID.
Sir Lancelotti.
well, there's
you
probably a
buy into
couple
the game,
times.
you buy into the world,
Yeah.
and it can get crazy.
Yeah, it almost consumes you, right, while you're playing. Like, you're so into the character. So did you paint? How did you come
So
about?
there's a really cool site called Hero Forge where you can like build a custom character, and they print it and send it to you. So I got that one. That's all metal, and then Adam painted that for me actually. So
Wow.
yeah.
And I have to
yeah.
point out the really awesome detail of the back of his cape. Sorry, everybody can't see it, but it is a little kobold face. Because very early on in our campaign, we had a crew of kobolds that hung
Which
out
is
with
a
us.
little lizard dragonish type.
That's what it looks
Yeah.
like, a
creature,
dragon.
Yeah,
like-
they were
Yeah.
very very cute, and they just for some reason they loved my character and just like hugged his legs and followed him around. So
That's
then
awesome. Yeah.
in game I found like a seamstress, and I was like, I need a kobold on my cape.
Very cool. So, and you have a second character. You want to talk about this guy?
So that first character actually died.
Whoa, he died?
Yep.
So
yeah,
they can
that's why
actually
I
die.
cried.
Yep.
So now, if he's dead, he cannot come back? Or can he come back?
Well, it's magic, so
Dungeon Master? Right?
There is a
there's
spell
magic,
called
so you
Revivify.
can. There's a couple different
That's a
magical
cool
ways to bring someone back. So he died, so I had to make a new character, and so I made.
Okay, well, hold on. Before you go, how did he die?
We
Because the
got
listeners are going to want to know.
we got ambushed by some bugs.
Some bugs. like
That
alien
makes it
space bugs?
seem really not
Picture-
scary.
Yeah, like ladybugs.
but
like,
these
okay.
things were
They
not good
they
bugs.
could like inject something that ended up getting to his heart,
Like
and
a
then
venom.
when I hit 0 hit points, he died. Normally, when you hit 0 hit points, you can like roll to see if you get back up or stabilize or can be healed. When he hit 0 hit points, he was just dead. So
Wow. Okay, so he's dead.
he was dead.
He was
We're
dead.
we're getting into our campaign now.
Yeah.
I
He
know, I
was
know.
dead. He did come back.
Oh, he came back.
But in the meantime, I had to roll up a new character, and Sir Lancelot was pretty serious about like being a good person. He was like very classic paladin, heroic guy. So then when I made my new character, I made a 3-foot tall goblin.
Okay.
With a mustache and a cigar.
Nice.
And his name is Poop.
Poop. Okay.
P-U with an umlaut P.
Okay.
And I actually came up with this character because I was just messing around on that Hero Forge site. I put a flute in his hand, and I was like, oh, that'd be funny if he thought he was a wizard and was waving this flute around, but the magic music from the flute was him waving it around. So he was a bard, but I role-played him as a wizard.
Okay. So this is your new character now.
Well, it was.
It was. All right.
And then at one point, I decided he didn't really fit the vibe the story was going because he was just a little guy who was kind of an idiot. And I was like, we're getting to like end of the world scenario. And I was like, there's no reason for him as a character and his motivations to want to stick around to save the world. All he cared about was like collecting shiny things.
Okay.
So then I talked to the DMs and I was like, what if Sir Lancelot came back, and we came up with a way that he could come back that felt good for the story.
Yeah. Olivia, let's get a take on your characters. Who do you have?
So because of the Sir Lancelot, so I started with a character originally, and I am a different character now. So my character did not die, but I did not go back to her. She's still roaming around in the world.
Which is a lot of fun for DMs, because now we can track where her old character was and how she's influencing the story, and it's really cool.
But I don't know.
But she doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if something like that happens, it kind of gets put into the DM's kind of arsenal, and it's cool to involve them in the story behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you get halfway through a show and then the one episode starts with a flashback and you're like, oh, so that's what they were doing during this time. But we still don't know.
You don't know. Yeah.
So my first character, her name is, because she's not dead, I don't think, Desaria. Okay. So basically the conception of her was we were playing Elder Scrolls Online, and I was trying to make a character on there, and I wanted it to be legitimate for the race and the class that she was. So I think we even looked it up that she's a wood elf, and there are certain prefixes and suffixes of a wood elf that you can use in their name that make them that way, I guess. So DES was one of them. Also, Game of Thrones was on, and I'm obsessed with Arya Stark.
Yes.
So she ended up being Desaria. No last name now that I think about it. So when we started this D&D campaign, I thought, okay, well, I already created this character, so why don't I bring her into this world, and then I'll get to play her more. So she is a human. No, she's not a human. She's a wood elf. Okay. I sometimes forget that wood elf is like an actual race. It's not like, she looks human, she just has pointy ears. Yeah. But she is a wood elf druid named Desaria. She's super old. She's like 240, but she wouldn't look that way because she's an elf and she ages differently.
Say she looks pretty good.
Yeah. So the reason we're looking at the mini, she's holding a bow and arrow, is because her father was really into archery and stuff like that, so she pulled that from him, and then her mother was a druid. So she is actually a druid.
And a druid, just for the listeners
it
and
is
for me.
It's like a
class.
Nature wizard, basically.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
one of the really, apparently, I learned after the fact that it is not a good idea to play a druid as your first character. Oh. So breaking all the rules.
They're pretty complicated.
Yeah. So one of the biggest appeals for that character was actually that she could turn into animals. And I love animals. So I was like, oh, that's so cool. And so there's something with her class and stuff like that. And being a druid where she can turn into animals, it's called wild shape. So if I see an animal, I can turn into it. And one time, I'm going to bring this up because it's so funny. One time I rolled a really nice perception check and I saw a spider. Nobody in our, I think everybody's characters don't like spiders because everybody's physical player does not like spiders.
Yeah,
he hates spiders. Everybody hates spiders. Okay. So it's funny. We make the joke that if you ever see a spider in our world, it's me because I'm the only spider in the world. Apparently.
There you go.
So, but it's really fun. I can turn into like giant spider. I didn't get to play her into the point that I could turn into flying creatures because Lancelot had died. And so so I was playing her originally, and then Lancelot died, and we kind of took a break because it was the first player death that we had, and it was, I think, a lot for all of us. So it was you can come back as your original character or you can roll a new character. So I was because I was playing Desaria wrong, sort of, in a sense, because I was kind of treating her as an archer when I should have been treating her as a druid.
Yeah.
I decided, you know what, I'm going to step away from her. I have a really cool idea that I want to work with, which brought in my second character. And you may look at her or hear what she's about and then be like, oh, I know exactly who she is. As Adam was speaking to, a lot of my characters are based on characters that I enjoy seeing in movies or TV shows. So WandaVision, Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff is my favorite Marvel character. So Violet Mora, who is a variant human, she is a sorcerer and a warlock. She basically looks like Scarlet Witch, except she has ice blonde hair. She's purple instead of red, like purple outfit instead of red. She's got ice blue eyes. And she is a mess, is the best way to put it. She's gone through quite a lot in her childhood. I did write a full backstory for her. Her entire family is dead. It's pretty sad.
Whoa.
I've learned I'm not going to do
Classic
that anymore.
D&D.
Yeah.
Classic D&D. Everyone I knew and loved in my past life is gone.
Quick side thing though, in the other group that we play with Baxter, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a character whose whole family is still alive. All his friends and everything are good. We show up to his place that he grew up, and he was like, everyone's dead. And I was like, no.
They actually made parents alive and you killed them.
Wow. Just like that. The Dungeon Masters.
Yep.
Like, they're all dead.
It was pretty brutal. It was a very brutal
That's
session.
cutthroat. Okay.
But yeah, so I've been having a lot of fun playing her. She has a lot of complexities to her as a character. And when I said earlier that I kind of get to play somebody that I'm not, there are alignments in D&D, which is what he said lawful good. I said chaotic neutral, which is what she is. So it's just basically the way you play your character and how they act. So she is chaotic neutral. So she's a little bit of, you never really know what she's going to do,
keeps you on your toes.
Which is fun. So yeah, actually right now in our campaign, which is kind of exciting, we are on the island she was born on, which is Toa. And there's a whole bunch of backstory stuff going on right now. That's really exciting for me and for her.
It's crazy you mentioned that, like she's on an island and everything, because when I look at the character not knowing, I think of, and I can't think of the character's name, but Atlantis with Milo, and he meets...
what's her name?
beautiful
Kiara? Is it
girl.
Kiara or
I don't remember,
Kira or
but I know
something?
who you're
like
talking
that,
about.
yeah. So it's just crazy that she lives on an island. And,
You wouldn't think she does, and based on the way the island looks now, you would definitely not think she's from there, but she is. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to play her to completion, which is going to be soon because the campaign is very close to ending. But like I said, I'm excited to move on to my future character. I don't have a mini of her to kind of spoiler, but she is a tiefling.
Okay, what's a tiefling?
A female tiefling. Her name is, I don't know how to explain it.
So tieflings, they're like, I guess they're devils, sort of, but I think they like descended from devils or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't, okay, nerding out, tieflings, they don't necessarily need to be evil, even though they all have horns.
Yes.
She does have horns.
Okay.
Yeah, they have like red skin usually.
I could picture. Yeah.
Mine has blue skin.
Okay.
We're going to go
Then
cool
they have
tones.
some horn. I think
What, like Hellboy? Kind of? Or
kind
not
of.
so much?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it can. The
A
horns
tiefling
can kind of
totally
be whatever.
look like Hellboy.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the fun thing is you can kind of make it however you want it to look.
Gotcha. Very cool. And you have a third character.
Yes. So I have everybody here because I brought my ginormous dice bag. So here's the thing about Olivia Holmes. I am a dice goblin. That is the coined term. When we were starting D&D, we went to 6 Feet Under Games. Shout out to them. They're great. And I bought like 8 or 9 sets of dice.
Oh, wow.
I didn't need that many, but
Everyone
it just happens.
could share one set of dice around the entire table. And for those of you that can't see, there is a gallon jug sized bag on the table that is full to the brim of ridiculous dice.
Me and Liv both have a bag like that.
Yes.
It
There's
happens. to some.
like 8 or 9 pockets in here, and I have them separated out by the dice type.
That's so cool.
But yeah, it's exciting. Hey, you never know when you're gonna need that many dice. Sometimes he does as Lancelotti. He needs like 8d6, and it's like, well, if he didn't have it, he'd have to borrow it from people, and like,
or you just roll.
Some
it a couple
people's
times.
dice have bad juju.
And then you have to immediately put them in dice jail or throw them across the room.
Dice jail's a thing when a dice is acting
It's
up.
not an actual thing.
You just it is.
None of this
I
is real.
Yeah,
D&D
I
players.
just
It
wanted to
is.
make sure
Yeah.
that's not part of the rules.
None of this is actually real.
When my D20 is rolling everything lower than a 10, I stop using
It's
it.
going to jail. Dice jail.
It gets set to the side because I can't handle it anymore. Because that could be between life and death.
Yeah,
So
right.
if it's not going to roll well, it's going to go away.
Yeah, for sure.
But this third character I have here, so this is in the second group. We're actually all in Baxter's group too. That is a separate campaign. Her name is, she's an Asimir, which is basically a fallen angel, sort of like celestial, godlike. She is
She has wings.
Yes.
She has wings,
I have
right.
wings. She is a barbarian, and her name is Ayla Cora. And basically, I just saw some character art on the internet one time. He was like, "Hey, we're joining Baxter's group," and I was like, "Okay, I don't have any character ideas." So I just kind of searched, and I knew I kind of wanted to be a barbarian, which in typical is I hit things hard with an axe or a hammer.
Makes sense, yeah.
And so
She
I
has an
found
axe, right?
some character art.
It actually broke. There was
Yeah.
a big axe head there,
Yeah.
but
It's okay.
Oh, I would never known. I
It's
thought
okay.
she was just
It
holding
kind of.
it.
No, you're
I thought she
good.
was holding it down.
No, and it kind of looks like it's
could
down,
be.
so it works.
There
But
we go. Okay.
yeah, so she is very grumpy. She's not very nice. She's very meat-headed, which is fine. Nothing wrong with being a meathead. Yeah, but she's kind of fun to play because both of Violet is very magic-oriented, and Desaria was kind of more magic. I mean, it's not super magic, but being a druid, there is magic elements to that. Whereas Ayla is just swinging an axe
Okay.
or swinging a hammer, whatever she wants to swing. So it's a lot less to keep track of. So I almost feel like, I could be wrong, this is just me saying this, so just my opinion, it's probably easier to not play a caster as your first character, just because it kind of...
There's a lot of rules that come along
Yes,
with that. Yeah.
and with a barbarian, like I said, it's just they have different things and different skills that they can do, but it's pretty much just I hit people with X.
Right.
So it's very easy to learn the rules with that sort of character because
Yeah.
you just run up and you hit somebody.
For a first time
You're a tank.
player, that's
then you don't
that's-
have to
yeah.
worry about a spell list and then
Which
reading all
I've
of the
got
spells.
like 45 spells as
Whoa.
Violet to manage, and some of the spells are like you have different level spells and those different levels there's how much damage they do. I could have a spell in level spell 2, 3, 4, and they are all the same thing. They just do more damage depending on it. So it gets very busy in our D&D Beyond, looking at that, which is how we kind of manage all of our characters and scrolling through and finding what's going to work best for the situation that you're in. So she's been a breath of fresh air for sure between Violet and Ellie is a rogue, so my future character. So she's also kind of not magic-y, which will be fun to explore. So I have 4 totally different characters.
You
which
do.
is-
4 different playing styles. Really.
Yeah.
And if anyone likes resource management in games, if that's your kind of thing, I know a lot of gamers that play card games and things like that are managing mana, that kind of thing. There's very real element of that to spell casting in D&D. So if that's something that you enjoy messing around with, then play a caster, because it's very much like, okay, I could cast this high level spell, but I can only do it once a day. So like, is now the right time to do it? Or I could do this, but then I might run out of time to do this, or like I'll run out of these spell slots. There's a lot of that comes along with that type of character.
They can be fun when you're ready for it, or if that's your type of thing. There's a lot of different options that can fit exactly your play style or whatever.
The pieces here, there'll be photos, American Grown Podcast, Facebook and Instagram, that we can see. I mean, they're very detailed, the paintings and everything. And like, what is one of these like cost roughly? 20, 40, 50 bucks?
Well,
No. It depends on if you're
really don't know.
customizing, ordering it, someone 3D prints it, and they 3D print it with painted stuff. You
Mm-hmm.
can spend a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
So it could be upwards of maybe 150 bucks, let's say.
But you could also use a thimble or a Monopoly piece to represent
Yeah.
the
So
character.
you don't have to go all out. This is just like...
This
is
is
Yeah.
just extra.
This is after you're
This
playing
is
for a
just-
long time.
This is
Yeah.
extra
You're-
where we're like, hey, that'd be cool. I want a guy
Yeah.
to actually represent what my guy looks like.
They
I
are
think
really cool.
I think for the first like 10 sessions, I printed out a picture of Dr. Lancelotti and photoshopped his sword into his hands. So that was my mini for a little while.
Okay. So you don't need these high-end...
No.
no.
Very
You
well
don't
done
even need
figures.
anything
Again,
physically.
Yeah.
you can play in your mind, as crazy as that
Yeah.
sounds, but
Yeah.
But there's different types of like, these are from Hero Forge, so there's different types of I don't think this is available anymore. Or
Yeah,
it's really
something happened during COVID where
Yeah.
the one option for metal
But
wasn't available.
like this one, it's metal, so it's a lot sturdier, but it doesn't come painted. So like Adam painted his, I left mine blank because I'm too indecisive of how I wanted her to look. And then with these two, they're plastic, so they're a little more fragile, but they
were
came
like
painted.
pre-painted, yeah.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
nice. So
Yeah. They're awesome characters. I mean, really, really cool. So now, Adam, your role as the dungeon master, give us a breakdown of that. Because the only thing I know, and maybe a lot of listeners, if they watch Stranger Things, is, who is it? Eddie, I think is the character. He's the dungeon
we
master.
love Eddie.
Oh, he's phenomenal. That scene there before he dies, which I don't
Yeah.
know if he really...
Spoiler.
He might come back, but... Oh, yeah, spoiler. Sorry about that.
Spoiler.
But so what is your role as the dungeon master, and how do you make this world come alive and like keep track of everything? Because there sounds like there's so much going on.
Notes.
Sure. And yeah, a lot of notes. No. So I want to bring as much value as possible for your listeners, right? So I know we just divulged down a rabbit hole of specifics about their characters, which is awesome to give you an idea of how you can get invested in stuff. But let me kind of break things down, make it simple for those that have been thinking about playing or are playing or want to figure out who should play what role. To the Stranger Things thing. Back to your reference. The first season of Stranger Things, they're all in the basement. Literally, the one guy's dressed up as a wizard. Like that, although we thank Stranger Things for bringing D&D to the forefront, we cringe when we watch that. Because I promise you, you don't have to dress up like anything. It's actually a lot of fun and cool. There are real life lessons learned, and it is not as nerdy as that. That was very much like classic what people think D&D is. Mm-hmm. The Eddie era is much more accurate to what it really is this group storytelling, back and forth, making quick decisions, rolling dice to make the outcomes. So my role as a dungeon master, I've heard it broken down this way before, and I think this really helped me visualize it. So my role as a dungeon master is to access my imagination, because I'm constantly coming up with things and scenarios, but then at the same time, I'm coming up with, on the fly, the improvisational skills come in a little bit, what the reaction is to whatever the players are going to do, and I don't know what they're going to do.
Right. Yeah, it's very
That's
much
the thing.
on the fly. Yeah.
Very much on the fly. Like, no matter what you have planned as a DM, the players are going to do something different most of the time, and you have to be able to roll the punches. So it's kind of coming up with like, okay, let me get really in my mind of, imagining what this character looks like, maybe in any situation, and then they're going to interact with that character, and then I get to play as that character. So I'm constantly switching hats, that kind of thing. So my role as a DM is tapping into my imagination. Their role as the players is not to imagine things. Their role is immersion. The best case scenario for a Dungeons & Dragons game, in my mind, is that the DM is quick to lay the tracks out before their train comes barreling through, right? But I want them to feel like they're part of the scenario in the world that I'm kind of creating and laying out in front of them, if that makes sense. I'm trying to use as many analogies as possible to try to get across the concept that I'm creating let's use the tavern example. I'm creating the tavern. I created the bartender. I know what his motivations are. I may have pre-planned, potentially, depending on how much of a ruckus the party stirs up, a bouncer at the door that can throw them out. I think of these things, and then I say, here's the tavern, and I lay it out in front of them.
So you really paint the story, the backstory, and the world for which the characters are in. It's all from your mind, and you create could I say maybe the NPCs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, throwing out terminology.
Yes.
NPC,
on that one. Yeah,
which
NPC.
stands for...
Non-playable character.
There it is. Yes. So
And
there
are a lot of times too where, just going to the improv, where you might have a bunch of things planned, and one of us as the players will be like, let's find a random guy and ask him some questions. And then you're like, okay, now
I'm that guy.
Here's a brand new guy.
Right. So I'm the narrator. I set the scene. So in a way, I'm role playing as the tavern, as a whole kind of community, the vibe. What does it feel like when you walk in? What do you smell? What do you see? What's it like? What's the protocol? Who's doing what at this very moment before I plop the characters in there? And then if they want to interact with something or someone going on, I then am playing as that person.
If you know you're all going to get together for a session, a 4 or 5, what are we up to? 12-hour session?
6 week.
6 week,
Yeah,
right?
7 weeks.
So, like, do you write notes down, or like pre-plan before? Like, okay, it's 3 days before. You're like, okay, I gotta create this world. Like, how does that? Or is it a world that you've already created from session 1, and you just add on pieces as you go?
Right. It's a mixture of both. You start out with nothing. If you're doing a homebrew session, a homebrew world, if you do something like I mentioned in my Harry Potter game, you've got that. Okay, Hogwarts exists. Now, do I want to change anything about it? Okay, so for this thing, let's change all the teachers. Let's get some new faces in there. But Hogsmeade can exist, and they already know that. They can buy into that. That's fine. So if you're doing a homebrew session, you have to create that initially. But then, once you've kind of created this structure, all you're trying to do, like I said, is just be one step ahead of the players. So constantly gaining feedback either through interactions with NPCs or talking with the players and letting them discuss what they want to do next or what their theories might be or their approach, that might determine what happens next. We always joke that during a session, no one mentioned dragons. No one mentioned things that you might not want to run into because the DM would be like, oh, you know what? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And on the fly, they don't know what I can write into the story.
What's going to happen.
What I can write in the story. So there's prep that happens in the initial, but in this world that we're playing for a long time, it's really me just justifying what those people would be doing behind the scenes, what's going on now.
How it affects the world.
And how it's going to affect what they're doing. So say they're about to go to a town. We already created the town sessions ago, months ago, maybe last year we created the town. That's already set up. I did the work of creating what shops are in that town. I might have some basic notes on names and NPCs of people to interact with. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know what that is. My main thing that I want to prepare for before this next session, if I know that they're going there, is, okay, what's happening in the town? Okay, well, Civil War broke out. So now if they're going to this town, which is kind of the hub for the military forces, and this is where those big meetings are taking place. The leader of this one side of the war lives here. Okay, now they want to go to the blacksmith to get something, but they're fresh out because all their resources and supplies and the time for them to get their new sword repaired or leveled up or whatever is going to be 2 weeks rather than next afternoon, because when they go there and I describe that scene, I'm describing, you get up to the blacksmith, you've been here before, here's the name of it, you see the friendly person working there, and there's a couple new people. Oh, look, they brought in more help because they have so much workload. You see behind the counter, you see all these tags of all these repairs that need done, and they're all like balance due, but like overdue. And even before they open their mouth to talk to someone, they now have this familiar scenario, this familiar setting, but a new scenario to play and interact with, and then I see what happens.
Wow. Because I just want to come up right now and get like a Mithril vest, right? Isn't that Lord of the Rings? Isn't it Mithril or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
An elvish vest. All right, so obviously role-playing, storytelling takes a big part in it. And then the 20-sided dice or the dice are kind of like the final decision, right? Because those numbers all mean something. And without the dice, you can't play the game. The dice is very crucial.
Right, so
yeah,
let's...
The dice is probably the only thing that and the character sheet are probably the only things you actually need to play.
Right. Exactly.
To play.
And I think this would be a good time to let's play out this scenario. That scene I just described to you, okay?
Yep.
You're playing this game now. Your character, say you're playing as yourself. You're playing out the scenario. You want a mithril vest.
Yes.
Okay, that's what you want. This blacksmith looks overrun. I've already set the scene for you.
Okay.
Now, you want this mithril vest. What do?
Well, I'd go over to him and nicely ask if he could bump me in front of all the tickets in exchange for maybe, let's say my character does printing. We print a local paper,
Sure.
and I happen to have some coin in my pocket. So I give him some coin. I slide it under the table, though, so that the other workers don't see it. And I say, hey, can you, get this through?
Sure. And the worker that's behind the counter turns around. He's a 7.5 foot tall half orc. He looks down at you and he says, "So it's a bribe then."
Yeah.
And now I would ask you to roll a persuasion check for me.
Which I guess would be the perfect time to introduce your new dice set.
Whoa! What are you guys? What is this? Thank you. Whoa! Check this out. Okay, so wait. Okay, so this is a dice set for me.
Yes. For
Thank
you
you
to
guys.
keep. You have your official first set of D&D dice.
That's awesome. I was gonna ask.
American grown colors
Thank
too.
you.
Red, white,
Yes,
and blue.
Red, white, and blue. Okay.
Cool. So pop them open.
Yeah, let's pop them open.
Find the 20-sided die.
What's this one? Okay.
Yep.
Both sides, and roll it. This is going to be your persuasion check to see if you convince him or not.
Oh, what'd I get? Is that 16?
You have a
pretty good.
16, and would you
pretty
consider
good.
yourself, this is where your character sheet would normally come in,
Okay.
but would you consider yourself a very type of persuasive person? Are you good publicly talking with people? And
Yeah, well, so he's like a salesman, so he's pretty good. He's kind of slick, but not a car salesman, like a dirty salesman, not like that.
Sure.
So yeah, he can persuade, and I got a 16.
You got a 16. So because you're persuasive and you rolled up that character, you would refer to your sheet, and we did a persuasion check. So you look next to persuasion, and you have a +3. So you add 3 to that roll.
Oh, so I have 19, which is close to 20.
You have 19, which is close to 20, which would
So-
be like the best case scenario.
Yeah, and so anytime that there's a roll like that, the DM secretly, either in the moment or previously determined, like
how hard it is.
how hard it is. So like if it's easy, the DC might be 5, which means if you roll above a 5, you're good.
Okay.
But if it's something really challenging, it might be 15, 20, even 25, depending on how hard it is. So
Oh, wow.
Which 25s
so like
are
he would
hard
have
to
just
Sure,
like
sure.
secretly in his mind come up with a number you had to beat
Right.
before you rolled.
So did
it's-
I beat it? Where are we at?
So as soon as you said, I want to go up and persuade him, I'm considering in the back of my head, in this scenario, this guy's got a lot of work to do. You see that he's behind. He's got this stuff going on, but you brought a lot of stuff to the table. So this is going to be a hard difficulty, but not easy. So an easy difficulty would be, let's just say a 10. That would be on a normal day. You need a 10. You needed a 15 here. You exceeded past that.
Whoa.
So he
Yes.
turns to you and says, grabs the money kind of side-handedly and says, yeah, I think I got an extra 1 around here. And he goes, grabs it for you, and he gives you a good price on it. And that's how the game works.
That is so cool.
That's how the game works. But I didn't know what you were going to look for. I didn't know that you were going to go to the blacksmith at all when you came to the town. But now we have this interesting scenario that played out. And it's the memories and the role-playing that we just went through, as basic as that was, that you're going to remember. You'd be like, remember when we went to town and they were like overworked, but I convinced that guy.
Yeah, and I was picturing, like you said, the orc, 7-foot big orc. I'm picturing like a Lord of the Rings mixed with Harry Potter when the trolls in the dungeon, and I'm just this human, maybe what you call him, brute, or the guy that just hits things and breaks things.
Yeah.
Because I'm new, so I don't want to take on too much. I don't want to be like a wizard or a druid. This is so cool, guys. Wow, thank you very much. So. Okay, is my role playing done for now? Or are we still in the world?
Listen, we can do whatever you want to do. It's your
man.
podcast, man.
That's how fun it is.
yeah,
It's
there-
easy to just on the fly.
And there's a scenario where, like, if you didn't meet that, then the guy's like, sorry, I'm not going to do business with you. And then you're like, well, now how do I get it? And then you start thinking of other solutions.
And
Then you
potentially-
steal it.
Yeah, I was going to say, potentially you have another party member that noticed that this happened, and when you're sleeping tonight, we'll come back here and we'll steal it for you. And then how do you react to that? And then, as a DM...
But they
I
might have
sit
to
back,
roll to
Right.
get caught. You might have
Right.
a friend go to jail, and then you
bust
just
them
get
out
into
or pay the
crazy.
fine,
Yeah,
whatever,
you just get
you
into
know.
crazy stuff.
Wow.
It just goes and goes and goes. And that's where the best part about it is not you and me. This is just one-on-one here. It's when you have everyone cooperatively storytelling together, that's where it really, really gets fun.
This is so cool. Like, I want to keep playing, but I feel like we gotta get back into
Yeah,
it.
No,
absolutely.
you're good.
So, but thank you guys. This is really neat. I've never had anyone, obviously, you guys are the first and probably the only people that'll come on for Dungeons & Dragons, but it's awesome, and I'm having a lot of fun so far. So let me just check something real quick. And you guys take a drink of water if you want. I never tried 4 mics, so I didn't know if we were going over the recording time, because the memory card, if it's 2, it can record longer. Anyway, we're good. We're good. We're really good.
Oh, sweet.
We got plenty of time. So again, thank you guys for. And what is this dice set called? Or,
Just a dice set.
It's
Just dice
yeah.
set?
So
like what's all here? Like, can I go and play now? Is this what I need to play?
That's it.
Yes.
That's
yeah, as a
one of
first
the-
level character, definitely.
Depending on the spell or the weapon, when you like attack something, you will roll the d20 to see if you hit. But then if you do hit, then like if you have a short sword, it might be a d6, and so then you roll the d6 for your damage. Or
And then that would also have a plus to it, similar to your perception check,
Yeah,
or your
depending on your
persuasion check,
strength
or
or-
whatever you're trying to do.
Okay. Wow. Very
So
cool.
yeah, it's the D20, the D12, the D10, the D8, the D6, a D4, which is the triangle, and then there is a D100, which is the one with the double zeros.
Okay.
And that one,
probability.
yeah.
yeah, so
That one
roll-
you don't use
yeah.
very often, but it gives you the choice to, roll for
This
a
is awesome.
percentage kind of.
Oh boy. Courtney, that's my wife. We could be in trouble here. I might become a Dungeons and Dragons player.
I know. I feel like
it's
a dungeon.
addicting.
I feel like a D&D set though should always come with a chance cube, because you can use the D6. It's basically
Now
a
we're
chance
going
cube.
off.
Yeah,
Here we
but
go.
you do 1 through 3 this thing, 4 through 6 the other thing. But Nathan has some chance cubes that he bought at Galaxy's Edge when we were in Disney World.
Chance cube
Chance cube.
from Star Wars.
Yes,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just got blue on 3 sides and red on 3 sides.
But you never
but
chance
flipping a
cubes.
coin.
there's a
Is
lot of
what it
time.
is.
It's way more fun than flipping a coin because sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to decide, so I'll roll my chance cube.
That's awesome. And you're combining 2 worlds, Dungeons and Dragons with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, his
all my
future
D&D
character, he didn't
All my
even talk
D&D
about it.
characters canonically have chance cubes, so that's just
There you go.
that's what's happening.
It's just what's going on. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Olivia, your shirt, Critical Role.
Yes.
I saw him on Twitter, and then I think I had to go over to Twitch. Tell the listeners about that and how they can listen to that if they want to.
So I will speak to what I know. Nathan has watched every single episode that they've ever released. Adam has also probably watched more than me because he's been following them longer than me. But Critical Role, basically, they always say that they're a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors who sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons. So they're all voice actors, also actors. And they've been doing this, I believe it's 8 years, where they have been originally on Geek and Sundry, which was on YouTube. I don't know if it was on Twitch because I wasn't watching then. I don't think any of us were watching then. But
No, Twitch was new for
yeah.
them when they.
So they were live streaming their D&D sessions, and they just kept going and going and got bigger and got bigger and got bigger. And now I believe, unfortunately, Twitch leaked streaming numbers or something like that. But I think they were like the highest streamed or something like that. And they just record themselves playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it's really cool. They're very, very into the role play. They're very, very good at playing that game,
And they're voice actors, so it's amazing.
Yes.
So like you
Yeah.
can like listen to them talk. Like we can do stupid voices here and just joke around, but 90% of our session, not 90%, I'll say 50% of our session is inside jokes and weird things that other people don't get. When they record, they're in character the whole, like mostly the whole session, and they're all talking in different voices depending on the character,
Like,
and
I
they're
remember
really good at it.
when you put on Critical Role for the first time and I saw it, I was like, oh, that's cool. They have some British people, and you're like, no, they're voice
Yeah, they're
actors.
voice actors.
Oh,
so
that's
they,
good.
They
Yeah.
turn on accents. They're the ones that are in all this animated stuff being released and
Yeah.
like big ticket stuff.
Yeah.
And so when they sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons, it's like you can secondhand, like usually when you play D&D, I always say don't invite someone that's not going to play, because you want everyone to be immersed so that they're picturing the story, because from the outsider's point of view, especially if there's a lot of inside jokes, it just seems like chaos. But to those involved, you're really immersed in it. They're so good at voice acting and the immersion side of things, as I was talking about, as players, that you're watching and you feel like you're watching a movie almost. You get lost in it second-handedly, which is a testament to how good they are at buying into the world they're playing in.
They've made me cry many a times.
Because characters die or just the story?
That and the story, and
Yeah.
it's just I would say if you want to be a DM, strive to be Matt Mercer, but you will probably never be Matt Mercer, and that is okay. It's totally okay. He is just on another level of DM, and it's just like he's been building this world for 8 years that they're playing in.
Yeah.
They played 2 full campaigns in this world. They're in the middle of the 3rd campaign right now, which is I brought 2 of my little friends.
Yeah.
This is Mr. and this is Pate. They are both familiars, right? I don't know.
yeah,
Mr.'s kind of weird, but Pate's
basically
a
they're
familiar.
pets of some of the characters.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
these are, I think, 2 of my favorite campaign 3 characters. Laudna has Pate and Fern has Mr. So it's just and they create such cool characters too, and it's just it's so exciting. But the world that they've been in has been built, and even sometimes at the end of sessions, they will go somewhere and they'll meet somebody, or they'll hit a story or a plot line that has been written since campaign 1 6 years ago.
Wow.
And they only just now touched it. But it's not
With
the
a
same
whole different group
with
of
a whole
characters,
different group of
yeah.
characters. So they have no
Because-
clue what's going on, but everybody knows. They're like, "Oh my gosh, this is my mom. This is this person. This is my character's mom, and she's been here this whole time. But my original character did not know she was here. But now this character who doesn't know who she is knows she's here.
Mind
And
blowing.
it's
Or-
just like,
Or things come up where it's like, they're like, when did you plan this? And he's like, well, this is how the world naturally would be progressing in the background while all these other things are happening. So it's like he's still like telling a story. I think he joked recently, Matt Mercer, their DM, that he was like, yeah, when we're done playing on camera, I get to go play by myself to like fill in the gaps of like the outside story.
Right. To have that backstory filled in for the next session. Yeah, like I said, I was scrolling through TikTok and it showed like a behind the scenes. So it was really cool to see like all their microphones and all the cameras. Like you could tell it's professional.
Yeah.
Like the amount of money just in the gear, let alone the table they were sitting at, you know, and the dungeon master had his like wall of privacy or whatever, you know, that is.
Wall of privacy. We got to use that now.
Yeah, that's good.
Usually called a DM screen, but
DM
wall
screen.
of privacy is amazing.
Yes. All right.
That
cool.
seems like that's what it is.
Yeah,
that's what
pretty
it is.
much.
Right.
But usually the DM has notes on that, so it just helps to keep things more organized.
And I'm constantly making rolls behind the scenes, determining what happens in the scene that I don't necessarily want players to see.
Because if you have to make a roll and we see that you roll high, we're gonna know that like he's gonna do something good or like something worked for him. But we shouldn't, as the character, shouldn't necessarily know the outcome of the dice roll. We would just have to react to what the character says.
More realistic too, more natural. Like if I knew that I had to get that, you know, 15 and I got to 16, you know, then it's like, oh, I knew I got it, but the fact that I didn't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, that got the mithril vest. So Critical Role is on like what, Twitch, YouTube. I mean, you can catch it anywhere for the people listening. I highly
Thursday
recommend-
nights.
Okay. Yep.
7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so 10 p.m. Eastern
Not
Standard
sponsored.
Time.
I was gonna say,
Here's
not
the
sponsored.
thing.
This
but
podcast.
I'll say
But we
this.
would.
We'll plug them. Yeah.
He watched, as I said, he watched some of campaign 2 and then went back and watched all, or you watched all of campaign 2.
I jumped in and I was like, oh, I can just jump in whenever because it's all made up, so it doesn't matter. And then I was like, okay, I'm missing some context. So then I went and started over at the beginning of the second campaign. And then I eventually caught up. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch their first campaign. So then I caught up on that. And then they started their third campaign, which we watched.
So
live
I
now.
only started watching their third campaign. They do have an animated series on Amazon of their first campaign. It's
crazy.
amazing.
They've raised
it's
so much
so
money.
good.
Like
They did a Kickstarter and they put
They
some
wanted
goal.
to get like a couple $100,000 or something, and they ended up crossing like $4 million. Like,
Wow.
They were
I'm
like-
telling you, this is huge.
They were like-
Huge.
D&D's huge.
They did a Kickstarter and they were like, hey, if we hit the goal, we'll make one episode of our thing.
Yeah.
And now they have
Multiple seasons.
They're gonna be
multiple
on their
seasons,
third
and
season?
then they also announced they're doing their second campaign as an animated series as well. So like,
Yeah, it's so
crazy.
cool.
It's on Amazon.
Epic.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
very good, but it's just, so I only started watching on campaign 3 fully. So we still have half of an episode to watch because, like I said, it starts at 10 p.m. and it's usually a 4-hour session, and I can't stay up until 2 a.m. and then go to Everlast. I
Right.
just would fall apart.
Be sleeping,
So
yeah.
I would fall asleep. So we still have half of a campaign to watch, but it's so exciting to watch and to sit down with him and watch, and then we go to D&D and we talk about it and we're like, did you watch Critical Role? And it's like, oh my gosh, all this stuff happened, that's so cool. And actually lately it's hilarious how like we're running on the same line, our campaign and their campaign. Like in our campaign, we just jumped through a huge hole in the ground. In their campaign, they just jumped through a huge hole in the ground.
No.
And there's some
But we
really
did it
weird-
first.
Yeah, we did it
I gotta
first.
say, Matt Mercer, officially, Critical Role. You're stealing all my ideas.
Oh,
like-
let's go. Adam's
like
calling
even-
you out.
Laura Bailey stole Violet.
So it's crazy. I had Violet created like
What?
quite a few months before. I think they started around October of like 2020, 2021. I think they weren't. They were all back around the table. So
Yeah.
I think it was 2021, and they were introducing their characters in the first episode, and they were explaining what they looked like, and I was like, huh. Imogen sounds a lot like Violet, and they're not exactly the same, but there are a lot of things
Yeah.
where they're running on the same course. They're both storm oriented. They're both purpley. They both have very, it's being purple is a lifestyle. And then,
I love it.
so there's just so many fun things where they're just like, but yeah, it's fun. And they just, I mean, I strive to be the way they are, and I never will be, and I'm okay with that. But it is fun to get to watch them, and even crazier. We've talked about New York Comic Con before.
Yes.
That was last year.
Yeah.
And so
Weren't you all just there?
Yeah.
On the 13th? Because my birthday is October 14th.
yeah,
You
so
were there
I
before.
think it was the 12th
Or something like that.
Yeah, mind blowing to even think about it. So it's cool that they have events where you can go and you can see people's artwork and all of the cool things people sell and dice that they make and stuff like that. but there's also like this totally separate thing there at events like New York Comic Con where they're like, hey, meet people you've been watching your whole life. Like Ewan McGregor. Nathan got a picture with Ewan McGregor.
Nice.
Dressed up as him on a boat looking at sea otters.
Okay.
Ewan McGregor knew who he was. Like who he was
dressed
cosplaying.
I would
know
never
me.
know.
He knew Nathan. No.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah, I'm friends with
You're
him
on that
now.
level. Hey, can we get on the podcast?
Yeah.
part of the reason we went was because Critical Role was going to be there. And we're like, if this is the only chance we get to meet them, why not now? So we actually got a photo with the entire cast, as well as Ashley Johnson separately. She plays in the campaign, but she's also Ellie, the voice actress for Ellie in The Last of Us.
Love The Last
So
of Us.
good.
Video game and
So good.
TV series.
Yeah. It's
She
all of it's
played
beautiful.
Ellie's mom in the live in
Yes,
the show.
she was Ellie's mom in
That's
the live
right.
show.
Yes. Okay,
So
okay.
that's the original voice actress
Wow.
for Ellie. So she's also in Critical Role. So it was an awesome experience because it's one of those things where our friend Matt said, does it feel like you know them because you've been watching them for so long? And I was like, it kind of does feel like we know them. And we walk into this room and they're all standing there. There's 8 of them. So we're standing there and we're looking at them. And I'm like, oh, this is real life. Like, this is
Yeah,
physically
they're right
them
there,
here. He's
yeah.
freaking out because Laura Bailey's touching his shoulder.
Okay.
Liam
okay.
is laughing his head off because he has the funniest shirt he made ever of Ashley Johnson saying goosh. Because when she did this thing and she's stabbing with a sword and she goes, you
like
know how
an ad.
everybody
It's like
makes,
an ad.
they go like
That plays
slice
during
or,
the show.
and she goes,
Yeah.
goosh.
Oh, that's her.
So he had a funny shirt he made. Liam
Yeah.
O'Brien was laughing. Taliesin was laughing. And it was just such a cool, fun experience to be like in the room with them and be like, I'm not saying they changed my life by any means, but it's one of those things
They've
when
impacted.
they've
Yes, thank you.
impacted
That's what I was gonna
because
say.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting here and I'm playing D&D not because of them, but I feel like I'm enjoying it more and just the world more because they're a part of that world. And it was just, it was very exciting. It's one of those things that says if you can meet your favorite celebrities at least one point in your life, go for it. I know Adam is he gets a little bit
What?
scared.
Why? What?
I get
Scared?
scared.
No, scared.
What?
My
Like intimidated?
rebuttal to that comment is you're 100% accurate. Yeah,
That's fair.
I actually am the owner of Drums Etc., which is a music store in Lancaster. We sell drum sets, drumsticks, that kind of thing, that kind of music store. And so I've had the opportunity to meet some famous drummers and different things. I won't go too much into it. And, famous musicians throughout that and going to trade shows, different things. And I always screw it up or clam up. People want to sit next to me. I say, no, my friend's sitting there and she's in the bathroom, and I mess it up. There's a lot of stories there. But every time I've met someone that's above my stature in an industry, I usually mess it up. But hey, the funny story to me is worth more than the memories with them. At least that's what I tell myself.
But you did meet the mummy.
Last year, I met Brendan Fraser.
Yeah,
at,
we got a
Comic-Con.
picture
That
with
was
him.
cool.
Whoa, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool.
I
That was
know,
rad.
right?
That
As
was
his
a big deal for
resurgence.
me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk about someone who I would love to model every D&D character I play after.
Yeah.
Rick O'Connell.
The Mummy.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the Mummy.
Yeah.
Oh, the movie.
Actually, it's not
Emotep.
the Mummy, I
Emotep.
promise. But yeah, no, that was cool. But yeah, it is a weird thing, especially when you do meet people like that. It's just a testament to how powerful the game is, really. That Critical Role, who's literally filming what they sit around a table, like someone had the idea to do that and put it out there, and then people cared about it, people watched, and it's grown into this big thing. They're raising millions of dollars. They've got a foundation where they give back to the community. That's how much
Oh,
money
that's
they
awesome.
got coming
Yeah.
in. They're all like do that in addition to their voice acting jobs. They're like one of the top things to cosplay at a Comic-Con, like
Yeah.
behind Spider-Man. It's like their specific characters from
Oh,
their
there
D&D
goes
game.
Keyleth.
Yeah, and it's
Oh,
insane
wow.
that this game has impacted the world and the culture that much.
Yeah, the characters that they created from their own mind, like, they're not. It's not like Captain America or Iron Man. Like, these are their own characters they created,
That they
Right.
made up.
and they're so popular that now people are cosplaying as these
Yeah.
made-up characters.
insane.
Beautiful cosplays.
Mind-blowing.
Beautiful
crazy.
Like last year for Comic-Con, I cosplayed as Ashley Johnson's character Pike
Yeah.
from the first campaign. But mine was mediocre compared to everybody else because
Some
when
people go all out.
when people dress as Critical Role characters, they dress as Critical Role characters. It's amazing.
And again, this is a game that was started at their dining room table or at a table in our basement. Like, that's how much it's grown and how impactful the game is.
Yeah.
I know they they just had a home game, no cameras or anything. So then when the first campaign started, it was somebody at the company was like, hey, what if we filmed it? And then I guess they were like, what if you change this and this? And they're like, we're not going to do it if we're going to change anything. We're just going to play our game.
Yeah.
And then there happened to be cameras there.
Wow.
So like
Good for them to be like, no, we're not changing anything. Like, this is it.
That's what they're adamant about that. They're like, we're playing this for us, but everybody else can enjoy it.
Yeah, they stay true to themselves.
Yeah.
They're not going to fake it or anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I know, there's always people out there that are like, it's scripted. And to some point, obviously, for Matt's end, there are things that are scripted because, like, he knows the characters, maybe what they're going to say, the locations. Like, there are things that are built out.
Right.
Maybe not necessarily scripted, but they're doing the same thing we do. Everything is just on the fly. If, my friend just tripped and fell, that's hilarious. I'm going to laugh at him, or I could help him up. Like, it's just simple things like that. It's all totally, we've walked in an instance recently in our campaign that Adam probably hates me for. Maybe. We'll see. It'll come out after the campaign's over. No.
Okay.
We were on a boat going to Toa, my home island.
Yeah.
And we were fighting. It was the eels. The eels.
Yeah, storm
We were
eels.
fighting
Storm
eels, and they were jabbing up in the bottom of our boat. And we were down in the boat, and we have two NPCs with us, Hobbs and Higgins. And Higgins,
Holt.
not Holt. There's too many
Great
H's.
names, though. I like
Hobbs
it. Yeah.
is the bartender, right?
Yeah.
Hobbs is the bartender. Okay. So Higgins was like, I'm going to throw a fireball or bolt, whichever one it was.
That's risky.
And I was like, we are in a wooden boat.
Right. Yeah.
So I counterspelled his cast of a spell, which normally you don't do to your friends. But I was like, this doesn't make sense. Counterspell, and I beat him, so it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But it's just. Yeah, like he probably was not expecting. I mean, maybe he was expecting it to happen.
You wouldn't expect
have to,
a teammate in that
An
moment
ally
to cancel out one of your actions, basically.
So he could have been thinking about it, probably didn't think it was going to happen, but then I did it, and it's like, oh, now it's just wasted whatever level spell I just did.
It was really cool, and now that relationship between her character and that Higgins character has changed a lot.
Yeah, I think we were all a little suspicious of him, but I think even then I'm like, why would you do that? Like,
And now
even
there's that
Olivia's
mystery that we
thinking,
can explore.
Right. Yeah. It goes deeper. The story goes deeper. We had mentioned Stranger Things. Do you feel like, and again, I know we kind of talked about it, but do you feel it's an accurate portrayal? And then do you think it has helped to break the stigma of, the satanic panic and it's just for nerds? Like, what do you think of Stranger Things? And we can go around the room. I'll start with Nate, and then we'll just go around.
I think what Adam said earlier, it's fairly accurate, but it's not like the set in stone, like you have to play it this way. Like you don't have to dress up like that. That's if you want to have fun and dress up, you can. Like a lot of times we do like Halloween costumes and stuff like on Halloween as like characters and stuff like that. But I think it's becoming a little more mainstream, which helps with the satanic panic thing, because you're like, oh, they're just a bunch of people playing a board game. That's all it is.
Right. Why do you think it ever was considered?
Probably because some of the monsters were just demonic devils, because like you want to fight evil so that you're the good guys. So it's the extreme of that.
Like Vecna.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
we haven't run into Vecna.
But he is an actual
gosh.
character, like in the
So we play homebrew stuff. So sometimes there's monsters that come in that are actual D&D stuff, but within D&D there is a universe that you can play that is like the built published world that D&D is, which is like where the Baldur's Gate video game takes place. Like that's within Forgotten Realms is what it's called.
Olivia, what's your take?
I mean, I definitely think earlier seasons, it was kind of funny to see how it was like a character. I mean, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it was like, it wasn't a character of it, but it was like, hey, this is what everybody thinks it is, so that's what we're going to make it look like. And it's like, no, it's not actually like that at all. So, and it is for some people, but for most people, it's not like that. So whereas in the later season when Eddie was doing it and they were all just kind of sitting there in their street clothes and it was like, okay, this table, and it was a little more accurate. And I think as far as making it less nerdy, I think it's still very nerdy. But I don't think it will ever step out of being nerdy. But I think as I was saying yesterday at work, I was having a discussion with some of the guys out in the plant. And I was saying how I was going to be here today and we were doing this and we were talking about D&D. And the one gentleman said, oh, I used to play that all the time when I was younger.
Whoa.
And then the guy next to it, so I gave like a very small crash course because I don't want to, hold them up from doing their work.
Right,
but
they need to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, I want this guy to understand. And just within the 5-minute conversation, he's like, now I kind of want to play. And I was like, see, it's just, I think it's something, I don't feel like it's always being described accurately. And that's why people were like, this sounds lame. And it's like, okay, well, you play video games. It's somewhat of the same thing. You're playing a character. This just, you have more freedom with D&D where you're playing The Last of Us and you have a start and a finish. And there are some points of where it's like, oh, you could eliminate this guy. You don't have to eliminate that guy. Those are the choices you can make, but you have a start and a finish. Whereas D&D is, you do have a start and finish, but everything in the middle is just so fluid and you don't know where you're starting or where you're going to end.
Yeah.
If your player's going to live, if they're going to die. So it's just, it's the freedom of it is fun. And I don't think it unfortunately D&D just has the stigma of being a nerdy thing. And I'm okay with that. I
was going to say, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope. It's whatever. At the end of the day, I'm like, I'm doing something cool with my friends and you're sitting at home doing whatever you're doing. And luckily for us, our group, I think sometimes maybe for people going into a group and not knowing anybody, that can be a little scary. Luckily for us, I'm obviously married to Nathan. Adam is now my new cousin. Ryan Good was a friend from school. Brian Phillips was a friend from school. His brother Caden played in the campaign for a little bit. And then Ryan Good's sister Lauren played in the campaign at the very beginning. So am I forgetting anybody? Other than Matt, who's the other co-DM. So all of us knew each other. And it was really easy to kind of fall in line and it felt comfortable. And I can understand how playing with random people, it could be very uncomfortable. But we've all gotten so much closer because of this, because we've been spending so much time together over the last couple years. And you could make lifelong friends playing this, just like people make lifelong friends playing video games together.
That's what I was going to say is that I was friends with Goody and Brian, but I feel like I've gotten to know them so much more.
They were invited to our wedding. That says a lot.
Yeah,
so you
we
know
sit
what I mean?
around,
like, they're.
We sit around at least once a month, or sometimes a couple weeks in a row for 4 or 5 hours playing a game. So we just really get to know each other. Because a lot of times we'll have like an hour of talking before we start playing, and then we have an hour of talking after we stop, where we just.
So we're actually together like 7 hours sometimes.
Or like 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And Adam, what's your take on Stranger Things, Satanic Panic, and then is it nerdy or can it be more mainstream? Which I think it is getting more mainstream.
The Stranger Things thing that we were talking about, I think we kind of covered that as far as it's introducing people to a game that has huge benefits to someone's life, and I think I'm going to go a little bit bigger, wider angle here. I think it's very easy to write off D&D as pure escapism, because I think that's how a lot of people use video games, is to escape their normal lives, get into this world, play within this world, within these boundaries, that kind of thing. But what D&D does that a lot of video games doesn't do is it really boils down to empathy. And it's that classic kind of parable of living your life in someone else's shoes. When you're literally role-playing as a different character, you view that world differently, but it changes you as a person in a way. And I know that seems crazy from a little game where we're casting spells as wizards or whatever, but just go down this rabbit hole with me for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay? You're now interacting with things and scenarios from a different person's point of view. You have a character sheet which has flaws incorporated just as much as it has your morals and your ethics, right? So you are now acting as that person. You're no longer acting as yourself. And you get to hear what feedback happens when you act like that person. It's a huge way of learning about things. Stack on top of that, when someone gets into the game, your initial go-to is the escapism thing, right? So when you're rolling up character, you generally play characters, like Liv was saying, that are nothing like you. So you're playing a game where you're viewing the world through the eyes of someone that's nothing like you. If you don't learn something from that and have a meaningful reaction to, wow, I never thought of things that way. It's like the perfect combination of all these things.
I've seen people say that it's cool to experiment with like decision making in something that doesn't have real world consequences, so you can play around with those sort of things and see if like, oh, is this something that I like or want in my real life?
It allows you to be someone you're not, you know.
And if you have a character that's, you know, very like step forward and speak their mind, and my character's not really that, but if you're playing somebody like that, but you're not like that in real life, it's almost like you're getting practice for your real life.
Yeah.
So in a sense, as lame as that may sound, but it's like, okay, this one time I need to stick up for myself right now. Normally I wouldn't, but you know what? I'm going to. And sometimes that could be the difference maker in your life. Something as small as sticking up for yourself because the character you play does stick up for herself or himself.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. It's like the more you do something, whether it's in D&D or the real world, you know, it correlates, I think.
Yeah, I kill people in my spare time.
Okay, well, not like that. Okay.
I'm only kidding. I'm
right.
only kidding.
Whoa,
I am a
whoa,
very
whoa.
vanilla
Nick,
person.
Get the police on the phone. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Right. It's I shouldn't maybe.
No, you're
but
good. I had to make the joke. It's
that was-
funny.
that was a
'cause
good joke.
it's
There's too much genuine good vibes going around.
There
This
is.
is a perfect example of what it's like in D&D. Things get intense. You're in the heat of battle. You are invested in these characters, which initially day one were jokes, and then something happens that's so incredibly moving that you're impacted as a real human being, a real person. And then, of course, you get that spark of someone makes a joke on behalf, and then the tension's released. Right. And it's the best feeling ever.
So the items you brought with today, I know we covered the characters. Let's just real quick go around. We'll start with Nate, Olivia, and then Adam. You don't have to go into detail, but you brought your 2 characters. Where did you get them again? Remind us. Who?
I custom made them on HeroForge.com.
Okay, HeroForge.com.
Yep.
And you just brought those, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, Olivia, you brought all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, because that's just my life with D&D.
No, yeah, you're good.
It's bad. If I wasn't so indecisive on a tattoo, I'd probably get something really cute, but I'm too indecisive. I got one and it's hidden so nobody can see it, but I'm just like, I'm too indecisive. So yeah, I did bring my characters. I also, like I said a little bit ago, that I brought Pate and Mr., who are characters. I'll call them characters in campaign 3 for Critical Role, because they sell a ton of cool merch, and I'm like, oh, these are fun to have. But I did bring them because I wore a Critical Role shirt, so it's a representation of something that could exist in D&D. And then I also brought, as I said, I'm a dice goblin, so I brought my dice bag, which isn't full. It will be one day.
And then you'll get another one.
Yes.
How many do you think you have in there roughly? How many dice? How many die?
Well,
We don't have time to count.
I'm gonna just I'll bring a group
Rough
out.
estimate.
It's not a lot.
Holy
It's
cow.
not a lot.
But just think, you have that dice set there.
Yep.
So Liv has dice. Each one of these represents a dice set.
Multiplied by
So-
7.
These are just the
yes.
6s.
And I also have a couple others, because for Ayla, I have 2 sets of dice that are exclusive to her that I only use for her. And Violet, I have 3 sets
Me
of
and
dice
Liv like
that are
to
exclusive.
theme our dice colors based on how we feel represent the characters.
All right.
Yeah, so
Some
like-
people just use one set, but we like to theme
so
them.
I've
Yeah.
already bought 1 set of dice for my future character, because I saw it and I was like, that is Ellie. I need that for Ellie, because my hope is that when I retire these characters, those dice will retire with them.
Okay.
So I need dice to fill those dice. But
So you're like single-handedly keeping the dice
maybe
business
me
going.
and Laura
Your
Bailey,
business.
because
Yeah.
this is Laura Bailey's. So this is another Critical Role thing. It's I think
Bailey's dice bag of hoarding.
Yeah, because she is also a dice goblin.
As their
Yeah.
business grows, they come out with all the
Yeah,
merch,
so this
which makes
and
sense.
They're
this
smart.
just has a bunch of pockets. So each one of my pockets has each one of the singular dice, and then I have 2 additional pockets that hold the dice specifically for my character. So I do technically have 5 or 6 additional D6,
Wow.
but they're not in the everywhere spot because they're for my characters.
All right.
Very
and,
specific
and
pockets.
these 2 from Critical Role are
Yes.
they're plushies for the listeners. We'll have pictures of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a basic, and to just kind of reiterate on what this is. So one of the characters, Laudna, has a familiar. It was originally a creation she had made herself. Its name is Pate. It's the plushie looks adorable. The description is terrifying. It is basically a rat. No, it is a bird skeleton with a rat head.
Skull, yeah.
Right, yeah, a rat head. It used to originally just be something she puppeted, like with her, just like a little marionette.
Yeah.
And then she hit a specific level that she could turn it into a familiar. So now it actually has a voice. I'm not going to attempt it. That is Matt Mercer's domain.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's actually a lot creepier than this. And Mr. is also a character that is with Fern, who's a character in Campaign 3. And he's basically...
He's a fire monkey.
He's a fire monkey.
Fire
and
monkey.
He has a gun. And he throws flaming poop.
He's got a gun.
Wow, he's got a gun.
He does. Somehow, some way, Fern
So
with
you can
her...
get creative like that.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like, our world, as far as I know, doesn't have gun
Like that.
weapons.
Weapons like that, yeah.
But basically, in the Critical Role world, there was a character. His name was, I'm not even going to attempt the full name because I don't know it, but Percy DeRollo. And he was really into tinkering and stuff like that. And he came up with weapons. So that world does have an
okay.
extent of weapons using as in guns. They do have some of that throughout their world partially because of him. So, but yeah, so Mr. is just a fire monkey and he's very cute. And it's also fabulous to hear Matt Mercer imitate a monkey.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good segue because Adam here is the Dungeon Master, aka Matt Mercer, right? So can you...
Wait, take that compliment.
Oh, I think so.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay, maybe not at that level, but
Surely.
like, could you
That's the role.
could you do a voice? Could you give us, I don't know, one of your
Sure.
characters in the game?
Yeah, typically when they show up to an area and they randomly say, I'm going to talk to that guy. This is his voice. It's just like this. It's my voice because that's just a lot to improv in the scene. Most of the time, what I do, and if someone's new to it, like, you don't have to do accents. You don't have to get crazy. Just change the way that you're talking. For example, a bartender, and phraseology too. It's more words than it is anything else. You don't have to be a voice actor to play this game. You can talk like this the whole time. Mm-hmm. But they go into any bar, and the bartender's the same guy. Okay. Basically.
Yeah.
We give him slight variation on the names, but Hobbs, who she said earlier, is the guy. And every time they walk in, he's constantly polishing a glass, and he says, "How the heck are you?" And that's his vibe, you know? He's like, "Well, where you been? What's going on? It's this kind of thing. I'm excited for you, even though I know nothing about what's going on." That's him, you know? And so it's very much that kind of thing is just change the way that you're talking. And then there's mechanics in the game, like there's insight checks, where if I say something and I sound like, it might just be my lack of skills, I might sound like I'm shady. But they can roll an insight check. If they roll high enough, I can just tell them the true intentions of the person. They'd be like, "Oh, I thought because you were talking that way that he was shady." But it's like, no, I just can't.
Oh, it's just the voice.
It's just the voice or the way that I'm approaching the talking. Or maybe
Gotcha.
he's just that way, you know? Maybe that's just how he seems. But when you get to know him, he's not like that. You can justify anything within the world. But
The great part about D&D that's unfortunate in real life is that if you're suspicious about somebody and you roll well enough, you can find out that they're very shady.
Yeah.
But in real life, it's just like, maybe.
It's a gamble, right? You take a
Maybe.
chance.
right. Yeah. Do you want me to talk about the books that I brought?
yeah.
'Cause technically, those are the items I brought. So I brought 3 books. The first one on top is the Player's Handbook. That's what players will use to roll up their characters. That's going to have all your races, all your stats that you start with, in addition to like the long spell list, in addition to the rules of the game. That's really the only thing. One person needs access to that. That's it. And you use it not as like something you read the entire way through. It's a reference book to be like, oh, how does this spell work? Let me look you're in the index. Let me look up this spell. You know, it's just got a bunch of information in there. And the other 2, the Monster Manual and the Dungeon Master's Guide. Monster Manual is exactly what it sounds like. Those are monsters that they can run into.
Very scary.
Yeah, they've got.
So
they've
is
got
this where
stats.
Vecna is?
Yeah, he's probably in there
exactly.
somewhere. And the Mind Flayer.
He's in a special one, but still. But yeah, anyway, that's where I can pull from because I need on the fly stats for monsters they might run into, that kind of thing, because I don't have a character. It's basically a character sheet for every one of the enemies they might come in contact with. And then the DM guide is just, I rarely ever use that.
He is a big boy that's lurking around our
Ancient Red
campaign
Dragon?
right now.
No,
I
really?
think, right?
I think so. We
We
don't know.
specifics.
We saw him
Wow.
once and he flew. We
but-
saw him once and he
But
flew
for the most
away.
part, that's
Yeah.
just character sheets for me to pull for monsters. And then the DM guide is really about there's roll tables in there. If you're not creative, that's a book where you can roll for everything. You can be like, okay, what is this town like? What size is it? Let me roll. What types of races or species live here? I can roll. What's the mood right now? I can roll. So that's really, if you lack creativity, that helps you as a DM. But you really don't need much of this. One person, I don't even think you guys own a... Yeah, they don't even own a player's handbook. No. Maybe they own the digital version of it or something. Yeah. But long story short, there are these things out there. These are the basic books to help you. There are other modules if you want to run something that someone at Wizards of the Coast who produces the content, they wrote stories already. If you want to plop your players into a story, there's so many resources. Again, it's all about the amount of time you want to put into it. What I would suggest though is if you're going out to get a player's handbook or like a starting guide or whatever, all of this is on Amazon. Don't buy it from Amazon. Go to your local game store. I guarantee you there's one somewhere around. Even if it's a little bit of a road trip, do it. Because these small businesses, and obviously I've stake in the game because of the drum shop and everything, full disclosure, but these small businesses are where you can get feedback, where you can gather information, where you can meet other people to play these games. And, you know, if I'm lacking inspiration or something, I can go there and I can buy little miniature figures of a monster and then design something around it. It's just like a beautiful resource of shared interests, a hobby shop, a hobby store. That's where you should support this, because that's where this game grew out of, and that's where you can kind of give back to the community. You know, you buy it on Amazon, the company that made the game gets a little bit of money. Okay, Amazon gets a little bit of money. Okay, whatever. Yeah, fine. That's fine. But go to the local game store. If they can get a little bit of the cut, that keeps the lights on, that keeps minis to be within your last minute grab for the game. That's where people are really inspiring and meeting to play this game. And the more people that play this game, like I said, with its benefits, the better world, better country we have, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that if you don't have friends that are interested in it, they usually, local stores have like game nights, and you can jump into a game where somebody has some experience already, and then you jump in. That's how you learn how to play.
That's great, yeah.
Like
Olivia.
6 Feet Under. I had mentioned that earlier because that's pretty much where I've bought almost all of my dice, give or take some from Etsy, but they're a great local game store. I think they recently moved. They moved to the Gap. They were in New Holland and they moved to the Gap.
South of Lancaster,
but they got a bigger store. It's really, really nice. But it's so fun when you walk in that door and you'll see people playing Magic, which is a card game. I don't know anything about it, but I know Adam and him do. I think Adam definitely. And then you walk in and you see people playing D&D, and it could totally be a great place to, like Nathan said, to just pop in and be like, looking for a player? Can I sit here and watch what's going on?
And what was that? What was that name again?
6 Feet Under.
6 Feet Under. Okay.
Yeah. And they have board games and stuff too. It's not just D&D. It's not just Magic. It's not like, they've got tons of board games, Villainous, everything.
Yeah.
Down to Monopoly. They're a great store.
Yeah. No, not to cut you off, but I agree with what Adam's saying. You know, support local, shop local. It's a great way to connect, meet people in your community, and then also, like Nate and Olivia said, just to get your feet wet or to experience it in person, you know, why not? Instead of just supporting Amazon, the big box stores and things like that. I'm all about supporting local, so I'm with you 100%. Now, this is a question I ask all the guests, and we kind of can word it maybe differently, but how can our listeners connect with you and follow along on your journey? So, like, if they wanted to learn more, are you okay with them messaging you?
Yeah, absolutely. Adam@drumsetcetera.com. Email me. I will talk to you about, call the shop. I don't care. The guys know I'm into this stuff. I will introduce you to the game. I'll do whatever to get it going. Again, I've kind of transitioned from just like having it around me into it literally being one of my favorite things to do. This is how I stay in contact with my friends. This is super important to me. There's obviously other ways different people connect, but especially when everyone is growing up, if anyone can relate to this, if everyone, begins adulting through their adult life, people have kids, people move, do this and that. This is a great way to connect with people. I would highly recommend it. And like I said, reach out to me. That's fine. Obviously, our game isn't live streamed like Critical Role, so you can't necessarily keep up with it that way. But the D&D thing is, thankfully, like now, because it's become popular, there's a million different ways to get started and a ton of people out there in this huge community that will be willing to help you out, whether it's through a game store or it's online or whatever. The scenario is, reach out to someone who plays D&D and you'll end up hopefully having the record podcast amount of length that we're talking about something. Because this is what happens. We just get going and going and going.
It's epic. This is the longest so far.
Oh, yeah.
This is the longest. The world of D&D is just so incredibly vast, and it's exciting and it's fun. So there's just, you can sit and talk about it forever just because there's forever to talk about.
Yeah. I don't know if I have anything to add to that. It's just fun. Give it a try if you haven't.
Mic drop, right?
Yeah.
Mic drop. Yeah.
Oh, I dabbed.
You did, yeah. I did the mic drop.
Yeah.
But no,
got both
perfect,
of 'em.
guys. Before we close out, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners? And we can go around. Olivia, we'll start with you.
Shout out our awesome group. So Adam Stec is DM, Matt Anderson is co-DM, me, obviously, Olivia Holmes, the best person. I'm just kidding.
Get
Nathan
it.
Holmes. We have Ryan Good, aka Goody. We don't call him Ryan Good. He is Goody. Brian Phillips, and like I said, Caden Holmes and Lauren Good, who were both past players. Tyler Gerber for being an awesome guest player. Dakota Baxter, Dak Baxter for being a guest player. I don't know if I'm missing
Chris.
anybody else. Chris, yes.
All sorts of people.
Chris Anderson for being a guest player. I also want to take a moment to just shout out because she's absolutely fantastic. And if I don't talk about her in a D&D aspect, I will regret it. Tiffany Berkey Art. She has done our character artwork. So we have our minis here, which were through Hero Forge. But one of the coolest parts about creating a character is finding a way to visually bring them to life, because you can sit there and you can say, this is what they look like. And everybody's kind of just like when you read a book that they don't adapt into a movie or a show.
Yeah.
You have an idea, they explain what they look like, and you have that idea in your head. You love it when it comes to a screen and they look exactly the way you were hoping that they would. So it's super awesome to also support local artists as far as getting your character artwork done with them. As I said, Tiffany Berkey Art, I believe probably on everything. She has done the artwork for all of our characters, our original characters. Adam got commissioned secretly, and we didn't know it was happening.
Oh, cool.
And then it was a fun gift, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And then after that, we were like, she is fantastic at what she does, and she only has gotten immensely better since then. She is phenomenal. And she has done character artwork for Violet. She has also done character artwork for my future character Ellie, and she's done character artwork for Nathan's Tyr, who is his future character as well. And like I said, I just could not shout her out, because if anybody's thinking about doing something D&D oriented and you have a character and you're like, I need to see them visually and I don't know how to do that, find somebody local, a local artist who can help bring your vision to life, so that when you introduce your character to somebody, you can be like, look how cool my character looks, and show them a physical picture of them, so that there is no second guessing of how scary they look or how intimidating they look.
Right.
It's a great asset to have.
Nate?
What was the original question? Just if we want to shout anything out?
Yeah, or anything
share
you'd like,
anything.
share anything with the listeners, yeah.
If you haven't tried it and it sounds at all interesting, give it a try. Maybe check out a YouTube video of like a beginner's guide or something, or reach out to Adam, have him talk to you for hours,
Yeah.
maybe run a game for you.
Yeah.
And Critical Role, like it's even that, if you want to stop and watch an episode of that, it is daunting, because they are about 4 to 5 hours, most of them, just like our campaigns or our sessions typically are and last. But even if you wanted to jump into a first episode of campaign 3, just to kind of see how they do it and get a feel for it.
And they're the extreme of role playing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Preface,
if you watch
extreme.
them, don't feel like you have to live up to that from a player or DM standpoint.
But I feel like if there's anything that maybe would get you super interested other than us cool people talking about it, it would probably be that. And you'd be like, wow, this is pretty sweet. So...
And I guess one other thing is, like, once you learn the basics of this style of game, you can jump to the other, like, adjacent tabletop games. Or even, like, I was thinking about running some people made, like, a Star Wars version of D&D 5e, which, like, it just modified the rules a little bit, but then it's Star Wars themed. So, like, you can go into any universe you want, or make up your own, do whatever.
Perfect. Adam?
D&D has obviously been a part of my life in one way or another for a long time, and I am just so thankful for what the game has done for my life as far as my friendships and my viewpoint and everything. I think that there's a lot of people out there right now that are struggling to get by, or they've got, trouble getting motivated, or they just need something to look forward to, and it's super expensive to live right now. I don't need to talk about any of that stuff. I just think that this is a great thing that could literally cost you $0, if you reach out to your friends that could just be that thing to get you that next step, to be that thing. Okay, then Thursday we get to play, or we get to watch this, or whatever. I just think it's super important in everyone's life to have certain things like that are, even though tough stuff happens, you have that thing to look forward to and that thing to move forward towards. And as silly as it sounds, because we're talking about wizards casting spells and stupid little things like that, this game can really impact your life. And I think that a lot of people, part of the reason it's trendy is not just because it was on Stranger Things, not just because some celebrities have come out and said they're playing it. I think it's because it is, even though it seems really far removed, it is genuine human connection with the people that you're playing with, and then also with these made-up characters. And it's kind of scratching that itch that a lot of people need scratched right now. So I just suggest, I recommend it. It's not for everyone, but I think that there's a lot of different things people are experimenting with and trying right now, and this should be on your list.
Perfect. Yeah, I couldn't say it any better. And I do want to thank you guys for coming in, and thank you for giving me my first official American Grown Podcast set of dice here. Yeah,
I've been holding on to those for a hot minute, and every time I see you come in Everlast, I'm like, I want to just give him these dice, but I gotta wait.
I was not expecting it. Thank you guys so much for that and for your time. This is probably the longest episode, so congrats on that. And the first episode that I had 3 guests plus myself, so that's a first as well.
Setting records.
You guys hold that. Yeah, exactly. You're setting records. So if anything else, I'm going to close it out.
We're good. Thank you so much for having us on. I know this
you.
isn't. I've been kind of listening to some of the stuff you have, and I know a lot of the people that come in here seem to have a lot more. I don't want to say important because this is important to us.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
But
it's a lot of people.
things that are like doing really great things, and it's like you own this business, and he owns a business, so he's doing great things. But everybody's doing like these amazing things, and we're just a bunch of
nerds.
Say
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
I'll say it.
We're just having fun. But
yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and for you guys, obviously, you would have had to come no matter what. But for Adam stopping by and being the DM here, because like I said, only Nathan's briefly DM'd. I haven't DM'd, but Adam's been our DM since the beginning, so it's good to have his side of the story.
And so I look at the podcast as everybody has a story to tell, and it's educating, it's learning, it's fun and entertaining. So when you were telling us, again, at Boyer's Tavern, shout out to Bobby, and telling us about D&D and your sessions that you're doing, I was like, I'd love to have you on the podcast because I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool. And Adam, I want to have you all back maybe sometime in the new year again, and maybe we can pick up on, your next story or wherever you're going, the next world you create. But Adam, I want you to come back on and talk about just your business, if that's all right.
I'm here, man.
Awesome.
I'm here for it.
Love to have you back on. Cool. Olivia and Nate Holmes with Dungeon Master, Adam Stec, avid D&D players on the American Grown podcast in the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us.
To see photos of today's guests and more content, just search American Grown Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review.
If you'd like to be a featured guest on the podcast, please direct message or email Austin at AmericanGrownPod@gmail.com.